It is NFL playoffs. That's totally uncoordinated. That was our intro. Welcome to episode 37 of the Fantasy Flyer. My name is Derek. That is Taylor. Say hi, Taylor.
What's up, y'all?
For all the people not watching the video and listening on the podcast that might be on Apple. Um, we're also on YouTube. Like us, share us, subscribe us, tell your friends about us, tell your grandma about us, pass our card out at funerals. It's fun.
Grandmas love us.
Grandmas absolutely love us. Grandma's favorite grandson. That's what we're gonna do right here. Hashtag shout out to my boy Roan. Yeah. Anyway, okay, where do we start with this?
For real.
I think most of the results we kind of saw how they got there. Like we were in the ballpark.
Mm.
And um the games themselves, however,
Yeah.
there's a different story. We had some over the river and through the woods moments for some of these games.
Mm.
Um, um, get
Squirrel.
distracted so easily. Might as well, yeah, right? Yeah, that's right. Um, yeah, we're gonna cover the games. We're gonna slightly preview. We'll do an okay preview of this week's divisional round games. There are 4 games, 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday. As usual, we're bringing you some news. We're going to recap the strengths and weaknesses of a lot of these games that just happened this past weekend. I was able to catch a good chunk of most of them. I know Taylor was not quite able to do that because it's different when you have a family.
And a
I,
sick kid does not help.
I mean, I have a family too, but they don't live with me and I don't have to take care of a child. And there's a lot of things that happen. So, um, anyway, we'll start off with our usual 9. It's the 9 segment. Mr. Dojo, Mr. Dojo Taylor, Mr. Guru of the 9. Would you please bless us with some of that juicy, and tender news?
Boy, is it juicy. Only because we're starting to get into some coaching changes, but so we'll kick it off with Arizona hiring Monty Ozenfort as their new GM. He previously won 4 Super Bowls with the Pats and spent the last 3 years as the Titans director of personnel. So highly respected in the scouting world in the NFL. Moving on to Buffalo. This is probably about a week old. I think it came out maybe after we did the news for last week's episode. But Damar Hamlin was officially discharged and was sent home and able to continue his recovery from home, and obviously placed on IR for the Bills. But awesome news there that he is on a good road to recovery. I didn't go through all the names here, but there's a handful of defensive players that are questionable and a couple that are out for the Bills. Not ideal going into a playoff game. Like Poyer, obviously a big name. Hyde, Poyer's questionable. Hyde out. Those are some of the notable names. Not sure how much it will affect things, but they obviously didn't get to finish the previous matchup, so this will be an interesting game. Hopefully, Bills can be at full strength outside of, unfortunately, Damar Hamlin. Jamison Crowder, who is on IR and entering the 21-day re-enabling from IR, activation off of IR. Sean McDermott said he doesn't know if he'll be able to play Sunday, so I would guess he probably doesn't. Isaiah McKenzie, who had a hamstring injury, was not on their injury report and was a full participant Wednesday. So that's good news. I would imagine for that reason and the fact that Shakir is playing decently, that they're not going to force Crowder. Cleveland, Jim Schwartz lands the defensive coordinator job. Dallas.
And they took your job.
I'm
We'll
just
get
gonna do
into
that
this
every
more.
time. Every
Yeah.
time you talk about a coaching job, someone taking a job, I'm just gonna play one little clip of that. And I just want to let you know that. So
How
keep going.
many different ones are there? I'm interested to see.
It is an entire 1 minute and 40 seconds of that. So
my
I
God.
have several to choose from. Do not worry. I can literally place it almost anywhere, and you're just gonna get into card game.
All right. Well,
Continue.
we have plenty of opportunities. So for Dallas, Jerry Jones says that they will be evaluating the kicker situation, and they signed. Yeah, that was interesting. They signed
That's
Tristan
being nice.
Vizcaino. I am not
Vizcayano.
Vizcaino, thank you. To their practice squad. There's a couple other names of note. Blankenship is available, free agent. I mean, we don't need to go too much into this. Mayer was incredibly consistent throughout the season, so I don't think they need to overthink this, but who knows?
From from what I had heard, and the only source I have is more NFL Sirius XM radio. This is their sports update this afternoon, which I caught on my 4-minute drive home from work. Um, he is more as an insurance, and Brett Maher should still be kicking this week.
Yeah.
So I don't, the only way you can word that where it sounds like that's insurance is if you're like, well, Brett, if you do that again, you're gone. So but that's about the 411 of it. And it didn't kill the game. We'll talk more about it, but probably about the only thing that went wrong for Dallas.
Right. So gotta like that. Hopefully it doesn't continue. Jacksonville, same deal with Trevor Lawrence, the toe injury, limited Tuesday. I didn't see exactly what his status was Wednesday, but not concerned. Jamal Agnew with the shoulder injury is listed as questionable, was limited Tuesday as well. Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the ankle injury is in the window to return, and it looks like he practiced Tuesday and was and has been activated. So we may see some of him. I mean, he wasn't the most productive running back before he went out, so I don't know why they would really force anything unless they want to give Pachenko some breathing. I don't know.
Dart throw DFS.
Yeah. However, Mecole Hardman with the pelvis injury is questionable and did not practice Tuesday and Wednesday, so not trending in the right direction for him. All right, get ready, Derek. Los Angeles Chargers fire OC Joe Lombardi.
They took my job.
Miami GM Chris Greer says we fully expect him being Tua back next year, 100% ready to go. So
there's no took my job.
Yeah, no, not for that one.
He should be and honestly, that's smart. I know again the concussions, and we brought this up like a month ago, and now we've got to the end of the season, and there's concern about it, and it's like, we thought about that. That's a thing, and that's good though that they want him back, and I think if he can keep going, they should keep going. One side note that I do have is that the Dolphins are one of 3 teams that are supposed to, and I quote, aggressively pursue, end quote, Tom Brady. So I don't know why he would do that, except to train Tua.
Yeah.
But they're gonna. I don't know if they have the money for that either. So you just, you know what I mean? Like you traded for Tyreek Hill and gave him umpteen $1 million, and
right.
I don't know where they're. I know the Bucks don't have any cap space. There aren't many teams that do that area. I don't know, but that's what I have heard. So,
yeah, I mean, not that Brady has done this of late, but in the past, obviously, he's taken less money to go on a team that could potentially win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
who knows if he takes that route again? But I don't know. After his sign off on Monday, kind of seems like he's at least leaving Tampa Bay. New York Giants, Isaiah Hodgins with an ankle is listed as questionable and was limited Wednesday. The fact that he was limited seems like he will hopefully be able to play. And I don't know that we ever actually went over this. I definitely didn't bring it up in the news because I had never really heard this guy's name before. But did you know this dude was claimed off of the
I did
waivers
not.
November 2nd?
No, and I don't know where from, but they're kicking themselves.
Yeah, he's playing great. Um,
I mean, let him. He should be the wide receiver one of this team right now. What you
yeah,
do when
of the
Wandale comes
weapons they
back and
have.
what you pick up over the offseason, and then with Wandale back, I would change that. But
Mhm.
I like him more than Darius Slayton now for the first time in this season. So
Yeah, he had a great game.
yeah,
I mean, and to that end, the offensive coordinator for the Giants, Mike Kafka, getting a ton of requests for head coaching positions, to name a few: Colts, Panthers, and Texans, who obviously all need head coaches. So, good for him. He's
Hey, take
obviously
her down! Get her down!
he's obviously made the most of a pretty crappy situation in terms of offensive weapons there.
yep.
Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts not on the injury report, so that's good. He has been cleared from that shoulder injury. Tampa Bay, Russell Gage with the very I didn't see it, but I read everything. Very scary concussion. He has movement is in his extremities and has been released from the hospital, so that's good news. Tennessee, they finalized hiring of former 49ers executive Ryan Carthon as their new GM.
He took this girl!
And finally, San Francisco, Juwan Jennings, ankle questionable, limited participant Wednesday.
Wait until we get to the post Super Bowl show and these things start coming like all
Right.
the time. I'm just going to hit play, pause, play, pause, play, pause. It's all it's gonna be. Um, good 9 segment. That is it for the 9. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to steal the ending from
No,
you, but
no.
this is only gonna get better.
Yeah.
Um, all right, let's get into the juice. Let's dive headfirst into this one. Wild card review. Rub the hands together, get yourself an alcoholic beverage, and take a seat. This got really good, and the longer the weekend went on, it got really
Mm-hmm.
good. We'll start off Saturday's games. 49ers, Seahawks. This one was a little bit of a slow start to our games. Um, 49ers win this one 41-23. Headline: Purdy looks Purdy. CMC shines in defeat of Seahawks. I haven't done headlines in like probably 4 or 5 weeks, mostly because we've had like 4 games to talk about for the last 4 or 5 weeks. But now we can talk about all the games. So, Purdy, man, you know, he looks pretty good. He's all right. He's
He
decent.
he made one throw at one point, and I almost messaged the group that, like, does Purdy win the Super Bowl? Like, he looks pretty
That's he was.
solid.
That was my pick in our group where we put up our brackets, which was for nothing more than bragging rights. I put San Francisco as the champion.
They
But
are
that bracket's
peaking.
already been blown apart already because Tampa got wiped by Dallas. Um, I told you I did not think Dallas would make it out of round 1. I was wrong. Um, Here's my question, and I watched a good chunk, not a good chunk, maybe 30 to 50% of this game. Is are some of these strong pieces around Brock Purdy, like, are they shielding some of his flaws by chance?
So, yes, I read this question. And I was like, yeah, that's exact. Like, is he as good as he seems, or is it the fact that they have such a good team and so many good offensive pieces? I don't have a good answer for you, but it is a valid question that I'm assuming their coaches have better insight into. But that is something that they're going to have
Right.
to, if they don't know, figure out,
Yeah.
because they have Lance, which we still don't really know much about. They have Garoppolo, which got them to a Super Bowl before, is okay. And now Purdy, who seems like
Honestly, the
the
best of the
best.
3.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the only thing that all 3 of those have in common was that they both got an opportunity and they had the same pieces around them.
Hmm.
And Purdy has been the one who has been successful with them.
Yeah, and I guess so. Somebody else brought this point up. Whether I think I was listening to a different podcast. The 49ers have been successful with the likes of what, CJ Beathard. Um, I'm drawing a blank on one of the other names, but a handful of quote unquote no name or rookie quarterbacks that hadn't had much experience in the NFL, and they continue to do so with Purdy. So if Lance is the better quarterback, which he provides a running aspect to the quarterback position for this team that Purdy doesn't on that level,
Right.
then hopefully he should also be successful. But yeah, it's as the Lance owner in our dynasty league, I am very upset that I wasn't able to snag Purdy and set myself up and sort of hedge there.
This is, I mean, it's a tough question to ask. It's a tough question to answer. We know that. To a certain extent, he's got to hit a wall.
Mm,
Will it be this offseason? Maybe not. Um, I almost don't expect them to ride him so much when you have Lance healthy. Garoppolo, there's a good chance with Purdy being the successful that he doesn't come back.
right.
So his age is a factor. His contract is a factor. You have 3 more years of Purdy and 2 more of Lance. So,
Yeah.
and obviously they saw something in Purdy to draft him where they did. I think he's good, and I think here's the thing: if you can keep these pieces healthy around him, he could work his way through these quote unquote rookie jitters, these rookie scenarios, to where he has the experience,
Mhm.
and you may never see that weaker side of his game because he may just slowly improve them
Right.
over time. Um, yeah, the Seahawks were just really, I mean, Christian McCaffrey had 126 yards from scrimmage,
Sounds right. Yeah.
something about that. Um, Debo came back and did things like he normally did. I guess that's the best way to put that. I mean, the person who fell off of the bandwagon a little bit was George Kittle, just a little. 2 for 37 isn't horrible, but Debo 6 for 133 and a touchdown. McCaffrey 15 carries, 119 yards, 2 catches, 17 yards, and a touchdown in the air. A little low on his passing, but might have just been more of a game plan than something we would see normally. Purdy 18 for 30, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 131.5 rating. He's my QB3 on the week. He's the third. He had the third best performance in book anyway. So I will take that if I'm Kyle Shanahan. Brandon Ayuk, 3 catches, 73 yards. On the other side of the ball, Seattle was in this for a while.
Yeah.
They scored 17 points in the second quarter. They were leading at halftime, 17-16. And that's when I looked at the scoreboard and I went, oh boy, we got ourselves a matchup here.
Mm.
I'm very interested. And then Geno came out in the third quarter and looked like Geno from the Jets. And it wasn't good for a little while. There. He ended 25 for 35, which is closer to where you want to see Geno. That's about. Had 2 touchdowns, did throw an interception. He couldn't keep up what he was doing in the first half. First half, he was looking really good. He didn't finish 2 drives in the third quarter. San Francisco pulled away more or less. Yeah, Ken Walker did okay for the rush defense he was facing. He had 63 yards and a touchdown. DK Metcalf was absolutely obliterating cornerbacks, not quarterbacks. He would not be on defense doing that. He had 10 catches on 13 targets, 136 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. Kenneth Walker, 63 yards on 15 carries and a touchdown. Geno was 25 for 35, 253 yards. The second leading receiver for Seattle was Cade Johnson. Cade and Tyler Lockett both had 39 yards. Geno had a fumble in this one too, which kind of hurts. He was the cause of quote unquote both turnovers. And all in all, it just kind of gave plenty of space to San Francisco. San Francisco had 505 total yards of offense. They're just more yards per pass, more yards per play, more yards per run. They won the turnover battle. They were arguably better in red zone, finishing drives for red zone. They're 3 for 6, and Seattle was 2 for 3 in the red zone. So.
Was it this game that at some
sure
point
was?
I think the announcers was like, "This is the first time in a while that we've had a game that hasn't had any like penalties or whatever. And then literally 2 seconds later, they had a penalty, but it was like in the third and they didn't have any penalties.
Yeah, there are both teams combined for 8 penalties.
Yeah.
Five from the Seahawks, 3 from the 49ers. It's one of the things that makes the 49ers so good in all reality is that they don't really have a lot of penalties. They are able to work on their own clock, so to speak.
Mm.
Back to the drawing board for Seattle. They will have the 5th pick.
Yes.
5th pick in the NFL draft, which is a good place to pick from. I'm thinking they will go defense there as of this time. I believe they want to bring Geno back. Be silly not to try and lock down some of the receivers, get some more help on the defensive end. I think is a big key for them. There's a little more defense in this, and they would have been a lot closer down the stretch. 49ers, on the other hand, they are still a force to be reckoned with. Purdy has won 7 in a row.
6, I think. Maybe you might be right. It was either
A lot.
6 or 6.
I
Yeah.
think that's, I mean, actually, if you go back before Purdy, the 49ers have won, don't quote me on this, 11 in a row now? 10 in a row. No, it is 11 in a row. They've won 11 in a row. They started off the season 3-4. They ended at 13-4, and they just won this game. So keep an eye out for them 49ers because they're a chug-a-luggin. Next game. This is where things got juicy. This is the first wave of juice. This is the first wave. Pull out your surfboards. We're gonna ride this one. Jaguars 31, Chargers 30. This was the Sunday night game. I, for a little while in the middle of this, stopped paying attention because the Chargers were just looking wonderful, and the Jaguars, they couldn't complete a puzzle, let alone a pass. Headline for this one: Lawrence and Jaguars complete historic comeback to eliminate Chargers. Heartbreaking for Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. There was no Mike Williams in this because he played a meaningless game in Week 18 and hurt his back. Shouts out to Brandon Staley. They announced that Brandon Staley will be back next year, and he said and I quote, felt like my job was never in jeopardy. Maybe. I don't know if Mike Williams would have made the difference in this, but it wouldn't hurt.
Right.
This is a tale of two halves for both of these teams. The first half, Chargers were economical with the ball, moving the ball, scoring. Their defense was locked in. They were causing a bunch of havoc. The momentum was all on their side. And Asante Samuel had 3 interceptions by himself, which was a record. First player, I should just say first player, to have 3 interceptions in one half of a playoff game. So good for you, Asante Samuel. They had a +5 turnover differential. The Chargers are the first game to have a +5 turnover differential and lose the game in the playoffs. Set all the wrong records at that point. Because the second half, Jacksonville came out and chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And they were stopping the Chargers. It went from 27-0 to like 27-14 to like 20. And all of a sudden it was 30-31. And I'm like, I don't know how this happened. What happened for both teams in the first half was just completely flip-flop. My assumption is the Chargers got comfortable, assuming that they would win this game and not knowing this is the NFL and things like that can happen. And they did. Lawrence was clutch in the second half, and he doesn't need to be said. And it really comes down to the many weapons. I mean, they did not run the lights out with Travis Etienne like I expected them to. Did he run a lot? Yes. Was it what I expected? No. He had 109 yards, which, okay. Evan Ingram, well, actually, I shouldn't say it's okay. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
He didn't
5.5 per carry.
Yeah, he didn't find the end zone, but that's because everyone else for the Jacksonville Jaguars did.
Right. All of the main names each got a single touchdown.
Yeah. Evan Ingram, 7 catches, 93 yards, touchdown. Christian Kirk, 8 catches, 78 yards, touchdown. Zay Jones, 8 catches, 74 yards, touchdown. Marvin Jones, 3 catches, 29 yards, touchdown. Trevor Lawrence had 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, 28 for 47, 288 yards. this is the I don't even know a better way to say it. This is the epitome of what happens in the first half doesn't put you out of the game. Um, talking about referring this back to the Cowboys and Bucks game, which we'll talk about later. The Cowboys were only up 18-0 at halftime, and that game looked very in hand, but it really wasn't. Like anything could have happened. Other than the two touchdowns for the Chargers, other than two touchdowns for Austin Eckler of the Chargers, his presence was very limited outside of the red zone. I did not see what I would have expected from Austin Eckler. 35 yards on the ground. He had 2 catches on 4 targets for 8 yards. I don't know if that was structured into the game plan. He only ran the ball 23 times between Herbert, Kelly, and Eckler. I would think, especially leading the game, you'd want to run it maybe a hair more. 25 for 43. Justin Herbert, 25 for 43. That's the sentence I wanted to say. 273 yards, only had 1 touchdown, the 2 from Eckler. Gerald Everett led the receiving corps, 6 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Keenan Allen, 6 catches, 61 yards. And after that, it's kind of just a plethora of a couple catches here and there that filled in some gaps. That's what makes me think Mike Williams would have made a huge difference in this game. I think that having a third hand out there to have 5, 7, 8 catches, I think that would have really helped. And down the stretch specifically.
Yeah. I mean,
can
he's the type of player that is going to go up and catch any ball that is thrown remotely in his radius and probably hurt himself when he lands, but he will make that play. And they just didn't have that type of player out there, unfortunately. I mean, and also like looking at this, Keenan Allen, 13 targets, only caught 6 of them. I don't know if that's on Herbert. I don't know if that's on Allen. I don't know if that's the defense playing well.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I watched a good chunk of this game.
Okay. Yeah, this was one I didn't get to watch much
that
of.
That was a little bit of both. Herbert missed him on a good 3 throws, I would say.
Yeah.
Allen was defended well on a couple of them, which is again easier when you don't have Mike Williams there.
Yeah, exactly.
We've seen games with Everett, Allen, and Williams all play, and Palmer and DeAndre Carter, who are now the 2 and the 3 for wide receivers, had the same amount of yards and same amount of catches that they did.
Right.
Palmer 2 for 31, DeAndre Carter 2 for 17. They didn't make an impact. They needed another impactful player. And if Eckler isn't going to do it out of the backfield, they were missing a chunk.
Yeah, that's very odd that he was not getting more in the receiving game. That's a huge part of what makes them successful and what he does for the team.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to me, but the Chargers will build. They still have a really good defense. Obviously we saw it for the first half of this game. Jacksonville only got 7 points in the first half, and that was more or less a tired Chargers team that allowed the first touchdown. So, I guess it's true. It was 27-7 at halftime. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But either way, good win for the Jaguars. They've postponed their murder for 1 more week because now they take on the Chiefs. The Chiefs only won by 10. I shouldn't word it like that. The Chiefs won by 10 in week 10. It is a rematch there. Both teams kind of changed, but this is still the Kansas City Chiefs. So,
yeah, I mean, if Lawrence can not start off the way that he did this game, they can probably stay in it. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is not anything to write home about, so he should be able to get the ball moving.
Well, it's been better.
It has been better. You're right.
Apologies. My roommate sneezed. I realized you could hear that in the mic. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. The preview. It's that defense is sliding in the right direction since like week 12.
Yeah.
It's been better of recent. So, honestly, the real key to that game, in my opinion, is Jacksonville's pressure on Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Next one. We still have time?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Got about 9 minutes, just a little under 9 minutes. Giants and Vikings. Giants win this one 31-24. Headline: Giants and Jones Alice, shaky Vikings team. This, when it was over, one of our group mates posted, fraudulent Vikings are frauds. I said on last week's show, man, this smells like the Giants can pull this one out. And you were a little less
Yeah, I mean,
you were a little less there. You weren't not there. You just were a
right.
little less than me.
Yeah,
And this felt like the Giants had the momentum. The Vikings, I mean, they won in week 18, but they didn't win a game they needed to win. It wasn't pressured. They were just floating around. This was everything that I expected the Giants to do, and then some. This was my QB2 performance. So actually, it's tough. QB2, QB1. I'm a toss up between Daniel Jones and Dak for who was the better quarterback. I guess I'll put Jones actually in front of Dak because of the rushing ability. He had over 300 yards, had 2 touchdowns in the air, had 75 yards on the ground. He is the first quarterback in NFL history to do that in a postseason game. Good for you, Daniel Jones. If anybody else over there who has been saying Daniel Jones should not be re-signed and have been eating their words for the past, I don't know, year, I would like to remind you that I was still there in the first and going, this guy's the answer, and nobody believed me. So still just gonna stay out there. I'm right.
I raised my hand for the other half of that.
Right. I know. And there were a lot of, you were not alone. You were not alone. There were a lot of folks who said this guy isn't the answer. You need a new piece. And the Giants apparently to a certain extent thought the same, right? They didn't extend him for his 5th year.
Mhm.
They were like, no, we're not going to give you no, this is it. Prove it now. And again, like we said a few weeks ago, his stock went up. His stock is now. Saquon Barkley, 9 carries for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns. They used him sparingly, I would say. 9 carries, pretty obvious. But he had 2 carries for 22 yards to start the game.
Yeah, his longest was 28.
Yeah, he had some good, maybe it was 2 for 44 to start the game. And then they kind of plugged him up a little bit. But they were off and running to start this game, the Giants were. At halftime, they led 17-14. Only didn't lead for a little bit, it looks like. That was in the 3rd quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Isaiah Hodgins, 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown. Like we mentioned in the 9, this man is a receiver that is to be reckoned with. Darius Slayton, 4 for 88. Saquon, 5 for 56 in the air. Richie James, 4 for 31. All in all, Daniel Jones, 24 for 35, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns in the air. The other touchdown went to Daniel Bellinger. Good for him. Good to see him back. Minnesota, honestly, Kirk Cousins did pretty well.
Yeah.
31 for 39, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of them went to KJ Osborne. The other one went to Irv Smith. Welcome back. TJ Hawkinson, 10 for 129. It seemed like the defensive idea from the Giants was that they needed to kind of take Justin Jefferson out of this and let everyone else do what they wanted to.
Yep.
And it worked. 47 yards for Jefferson on 7 catches out of 9 targets. Hawkinson had 11 targets and caught 10 of them, and it wasn't enough for this team. Adam Thielen, 3 catches for 50 yards. Osborne had 2 for 20 with a touchdown. No one else was above 12 yards. Dalvin Cook had 60 yards on the ground. He hasn't. This year for me is, in my opinion of him, it's a step back. He should be 100 to 120 a game. He looks like he lost a little bit of his edge, a little bit of his explosiveness. Obviously, he's still a really good running back, but he's not in my top. He's probably not in my top 8 running backs to draft next year right now.
Yeah, it's kind of. This is a situation where I feel like Madison should be sprinkled in there more, and sometimes he is, and it works, and then they have a game like this where he got 1 reception, 1 target, no rush. Like,
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and Cook is obviously a talented and good runner, but he's 29. He's sort of I'm sorry, he's only
getting there.
27, but still.
He's still getting there.
Yeah,
This is where you start hitting the back end as a running back, which is unfortunate, but it is the
right.
truth. So,
Yeah,
um,
he's had a couple of bad end of seasons the past 2 years.
yeah, unfortunately. Um, the end of drives hurt Minnesota. They were 4 for 10 on third down, 1 for 2 on fourth down. The Giants 7 for 13 on third, 2 for 2 on fourth. Ran more plays, had 100 more yards, dominated the time of possession. Kind of all of the things that you need to do to win a football game, and that's part of Daniel Jones being a game manager. So I love what the Giants look like. I love the fact that they're taking on the Eagles this week because this Eagles team with Jalen Hurts, again, only won by 6 versus mostly a third string Giants team in week 18.
The I feel crazy saying this, but thinking back to the beginning of the season when I was like, the Bills are so well rounded, they have so many pieces on both sides of the ball. The Giants now feel like Bills light. Like I won't say that they're
Stop it. Get some help.
I won't say their offensive weapons are phenomenal, but Hodgins is really coming on. They have Barkley, they have Daniel Jones, who is playing very well as a running quarterback, similar to Josh Allen. He's throwing 300 yards, like, and their
Are
defense
you
is adjusting very well. They're
are
playing
you
very well.
are you saying that Brian Dable had something to do? Oh my God, it's the missing piece.
That and they really made some adjustments on their offensive line.
I mean, like that is it's just that's it. That's it. That's the key. Um,
Yeah, imagine once they get some actual receivers.
yeah, no, that's the piece. The other thing that I want to point out is that was the first game that Aziz Ojolari, Leonard Williams, Evan Neal, I mean, all their defensive pieces were in.
Hmm.
Was it amazing? You know, Kirk Cousins wasn't comfortable at times, but I mean, their run game was better than the Minnesota run game. Their offense was working better. Um, this was just a game where, in my opinion, the Vikings' negative point differential showed its ugly face because you can't you can be 12-4, 12-5, or whatever it is all you want, but when you have a negative point differential over those games, the playoffs are gonna expose that. So
Yeah.
good game there. I'm happy to say the Giants will take on the Eagles. I'm actually super interested in that game. We'll talk more about it as it comes up. We're going to take our first break right now. We have 1, 2, 3 more games to go through, and then we're going to do our divisional round preview. And then section 3 of this, I think we're going to end up probably going into 3. We'll do our second round of the host we host parlays. I'll go over the results. And we're also going to do the Dynasty all rookie team. It is in section 3.
We could skip the results.
Yeah, he wants to skip the results. He can do better this week.
I will.
Um,
I will. I was so close.
you were very close to a monster, actually. Taylor, do us a favor, sign us off.
We'll see you all on the other
Go!
side.
Welcome back. It's part 2 of episode 37 of the Fantasy Flyer. We're going to continue with our wild card review. We went through 3 games already: Giants, Vikings, Jaguars, Chargers, 49ers, Seahawks. I don't know why I'm saying that because if you got here and you're listening, you already heard all. Next one, Bills and Dolphins. Headline: Miami surprises but can't fend off Josh Allen and the Bills. Miami had some good. I mean, yeah, this is one of the games I didn't watch a lot of, to be honest with you. I kind of thought this would be much more out of hand than it was.
I turned it off when it was like what, 11 to.
Well, it was never 11, so let's try that again.
In
But
the
that's okay.
second,
Second quarter was 14-0. Actually, it's 17-0 at one point.
at the end, yeah, I thought. Anyways,
Yeah, and then it went from 17-0 to 17-3 to 17-6 to 17-9 to 17-17. All in one quarter. So it was rough. But Miami played a patient game here. They stayed with Buffalo. They never, again, same thing that happened in the Chargers. They just never gave up. They said a couple bad drives to start the game. We can get it back. Skylar Thompson was okay. Let's put it that way. Just safe to say. He was competitive. He had the right, he had the right mindset through a lot of it. When he made mistakes, he didn't get in his head about it. Mike McDaniel probably has something to do with that as well. The other thing that brought them back into this game was Josh Allen's turnovers. He had 2 in the second quarter. It almost cost them. 2 interceptions, one that was returned like 40 yards by Xavier Howard. Javon Holland had another one. Gave points to Miami. And again, old Uncle Mo, momentum, is a fickle being. You can't play with it in the playoffs. It's almost one of the underlying themes for most of these games. Is if you can find momentum somewhere, you can bring it. You can bring your team back, and that was it for the Dolphins. Had a crucial fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Miami led at that point, 24-20. That was the beginning of the third, which was that's where I saw the score, and my eyes kind of, I was like, whoa, okay. We got ourselves a barn burner here. Buffalo's defense in the same right never stopped putting a good chunk of pressure somewhere, usually on Skylar Thompson. It was, watching it back, when I watched the YouTube highlights, because they give you a little good overview of it. It looked like to a certain extent it got to like either a blitz, or then it was they didn't blitz at all and they would go into zone. And that was it. And Skylar Thompson had either a bunch of time in the pocket or no time in the pocket. And there was hardly any in between. Thompson attempted to settle in. To stay in the game, even to that point in the third quarter, Miami needed some breaks. Cedric Wilson had a huge punt return to well inside field goal range. There was a huge, like 40-yard bomb from Josh Allen that got dropped on third down by Khalil Shakir, and it looked like he caught it. All in all, Buffalo ends up holding on, shutting down the Dolphins on I think it was a 4th and like 5 or 4th and 3 or whatever, the end of the 4th, and then they ran out the clock. Good showing for Miami. They weren't slouches in this like I thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Allen has to watch those turnovers. That is something that will kill this team. You are now going into the tricky part of the AFC. You are going to take on the Bengals. Then, if you get past the Bengals, you will probably have to take on the Chiefs. You can't do that. You can't have 3 turnovers. Let me pull up the stats because I totally did not do that while I was standing here. Skylar Thompson, 18 for 45, 1 touchdown. He did have 2 interceptions. Was only sacked 4 times compared to Josh Allen's 7, though. So keep that in mind. Jeff Wilson had a touchdown on the ground, 23 yards only, though. Also had 1 catch for 13, nothing really to write home about. Tyreek Hill, 7 catches for 69 yards.
This is so cool.
Salvin Ahmed, 3 catches for 45. Jalen Waddle, 3 catches for 44 yards on 7 targets. He had 2 dropped passes in the first half that were, Miami probably would have been up by a touchdown at halftime if that happened. Not good. Mike Gesicki had the only receiving touchdown, 2 catches for 15 yards. Josh Allen, 23 for 39, 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, did have the fumble. James Cook, 39 yards on the ground with a touchdown on 12 carries. Devin Singletary, 48 yards on 10 carries. Stephon Diggs, 114 yards on 7 receptions. Gabe Davis, 113 yards and a touchdown on 6 receptions. Cole Beasley had a touchdown on 35 yards, 2 receptions. Dawson Knox found the end zone for his 5th straight game. 20 yards and a touchdown. Anything else you want to note from this one? I mean, like this is one of those games where the result was what we thought the result was going to be. It's just how we got there.
Yeah. I mean, Skyler throwing it a ton, not completing too many, but for the amount that he threw it, only 2 interceptions. I mean, Josh had 2 interceptions himself, so not terrible. The turnovers is really what helped Miami to stay in this. Yeah, like I said, they started off, it was 9-17 when I turned it off. They started off with 3 field goals. They just weren't getting in the end zone. And then they finished the first half with a touchdown yeah, 17-17 at halftime. Or was it 17? Anyways, yeah, guess I shouldn't have turned it off because yeah, it ended up being a much better game than it looked like it was going to be, and I just didn't expect Skyler to be able to put the team in a position to do what they did.
Yeah, they kept it close. That was the first of the Sunday games, so it was a little bit of a close call for. Was that the first or the second?
Yeah, I think it was the first.
No, it's this. I think it was the second. I think Giants Vikings was the first, or maybe Giants and Vikings was the
No,
second.
yeah, it's Giants Vikings was the second. That was the first one.
Okay, so that was the first game. Giants and Vikings then was the second, which was just a little bit of an upset. A 6 beating a 3 there. Then we go into the Sunday night football game, which I thought would be more of a Bengals got this one, right?
Right.
Another one that just was if you play the patient game and you take care of business on both sides of the ball and you take it one set of downs, one drive at a time, you can stay with the teams that are stacked better than you. Bengals win this one 24-17. Headline: clutch goal line defense gives Bengals win. That's the only thing that kept this game. This play 5 out of 10 times would probably be the Ravens being up in the fourth and the Bengals having to drive down the field. Bengals saw a little bit more defensive presence from Baltimore. They made Burrow uncomfortable at times.
Mhm.
It's just being honest with him. They made him throw when he didn't want to. They made him throw to people he really didn't want to. They made him wait in the pocket at times. Baltimore was also very effective on the run, which is something that they do. They needed to do. They couldn't give that up. It stifled the Bengals, kind of shocked them. Again, this is the same team they played week 18. Was not the same result. Was not the same. I guess we'll say game plan, but in reality, it was the same result because of that game plan. The game circled, however, around a third down, fourth down. I don't know. One of those goal line run from
At
Tyler.
the end.
Yeah, Tyler Huntley trying to squeeze the play. Jim Harbaugh said that play is designed for him to go low, and quote unquote, we didn't execute it, which translation means Tyler did some stupid stuff. And he tried to go over the line, stretch the ball out probably 2 full yards to get into the end zone. His ball gets swiped over the pile, goes right to Sam Hubbard, and he returns it 98 yards for the go-ahead touchdown. 5 out of 10 times, Tyler Huntley does the play right. He's probably in the end zone. And again, that would be 24-17 Ravens, and we'd be saying something different right now. But there was, even after the back and forth, that is what one mistake in the playoffs will get you. Because the Ravens now have to go out and worry about, do we keep Lamar Jackson, and how do we do it? Because I think the answer is yes, and how do we do it? And how do we build around him and Mark Andrews?
Right.
Getting some defense. The first thing they did literally the day after this game was give Roquan Smith a huge contract extension. That actually might have been before the game, for all we know. I don't even remember. But they gave him a large sum of money and a satchel. They are trying to stay defensive minded, but they are going to need some pieces on the offensive side. This team can't score 21 a game, 20 a game like they did over the last 4 weeks. And make them, expect to be back here. Pittsburgh's growing. Cleveland will have Deshaun Watson for an entire season. The Bengals obviously aren't going anywhere. So I would be very surprised to see the Ravens not make some sort of moves here. Huntley, 17 for 29, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. J.K. Dobbins led the rushing attack with 62 yards on 13 carries. Gus Edwards had 39 yards on 12 carries. Tyler Huntley, 54 yards on 9 carries. Mark Andrews, 5 catches, 73 yards. The 2 passing touchdowns went to Demarcus Robinson and J.K. Dobbins, 49 yards receiving and 43 yards receiving, respectively, for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, 23 for 32, 209 yards, 1 touchdown. He also rushed for a touchdown on 9 yards. Joe Mixon, 39 yards on 11 carries. Jamar Chase had 84 yards on 9 catches, 1 touchdown, 12 targets. Hayden Hurst, 45 yards on 4 catches. T. Higgins, 37 yards on 4 catches. It was basically just Chase, Hurst, Higgins, Boyd, and Mixon, and those were the only receiving pieces. I mean, this could have gone very badly for the Bengals. And, Sam Hubbard is a great linebacker, but got a break. Let's be honest, they got a break.
Yeah.
Anything else from this one? Go ahead and give us your piece because I feel like you have things to say.
Burrow, this is not what you want to see from Burrow. This is not what you expect from Burrow. A single throwing touchdown. I mean, this guy has had what, like 5 touchdown games. This is just not what you expect from this offense. So the fact that the pressure that Baltimore was giving really put Cincinnati in this position should be sort of a game script for the Bills to go off of. I just hope that we see a better Cincinnati this weekend because the Bills could have their way with them if they find their way, if they're able to get to Burrow and make him do this, because Higgins should be much more involved than he was.
Well, and all the whole passing side of the offense needs to be. I do remember quite a few times the Ravens throwing some blitzes off the edge. Kyle Hamilton had a couple blitzes in there. The rookie cornerback. They sent some defensive backs in there just to cause some havoc, and it worked. And unfortunately, would have worked really well if it wasn't for that pesky Tyler Huntley jump instead of diving under the pile or whatever it's supposed to be. So yes, Bengals will take on the Bills. Again, we'll preview that one momentarily. Last game. Oh boy. Was this fun to watch on Monday night for me. I will clear the record. Still didn't think this would be the result. And I don't hate that I was wrong. Again, win-win for me. You set your expectations super low, can only be right? Cowboys 31, Buccaneers 14. Headline: Dak nearly perfect in trounce of Buccaneers. Again, I was back and forth earlier with Daniel Jones about who is the better quarterback this weekend. The rush side, I still will take Daniel Jones. I'm going to stay by that. It is a very close second to Dak. Dak threw 15 interceptions in 7 games. 8 games? Something like that. Not too many. Too many. Let's just say that. The team was decent after his return. They were 7-3 in the 10 games he played, including that ugly Week 18 loss to the Commanders. Dak did not throw a touchdown or an interception here. He threw a lot of touchdowns. 4 touchdowns, ran 1 in. This man was on a mission. That's about all I can really say about it. First Cowboys playoff win in 6 years. 25 for 33, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns, was only sacked once. His QB rating was 143.3, which is by a mile the highest of any of the quarterbacks. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't even feel pressured. He barely broke a sweat in the sack, which, by the way, sounds super dirty. He did. He did. There was nothing that the Buccaneers had on this game. Tampa Bay never seemed ready offensively. Their defense apparently didn't seem ready.
Mm.
The first two possessions for each of these teams were both 3-and-outs. And it was like, okay, we're gonna have a defensive matchup, whether we like it or not. You know, this is the way it's looking. And Dak comes out on this third drive and leads them downfield, touchdown. Okay, here we go. Now let's see how Tom Brady responds. And he didn't. There was just nothing that this offense had that for Dallas's defense. They kept getting some sort of pressure when Tom Brady had multiple seconds in the pocket in the first half. In the second half, that got shorter, a lot shorter. Dan Quinn drew up something for this Tampa Bay team, and good for him. A lot of places have been calling and are requesting his interview for services. He turned down a lot of places last year. I don't think that's going to be the same this year. So Dallas better make good of it while they can. By the time that Tampa Bay was even close to efficient, they were so out of it. Dallas was really ready to play. Let's call it. I don't know. I don't even know. I texted you during the game, and I was like, the worst part of this is Brett Maher, who
Yeah.
was 0 for 4, and we have to touch upon it because it was very, very sad.
The super duper weenie world headquarters.
That's where he lives. It just wasn't. That's what he drives to work.
The super duper weenie wagon.
That's what he drives to work. Was not good. He gets the super duper weenie wagon award. Out of everybody this weekend, everybody who had some good games, they stepped up. They played really well. Thank God it didn't cost this Cowboys team, because
Yeah.
the final score of this game should have been 35-14, and the score difference is all Brett Maher. Other than that, though, nothing went wrong for this Dallas team. Nothing went wrong. CeeDee Lamb had a wide open touchdown on 4th and 4 from like the 35-yard line. It's just, I don't know where Tampa was focused, but it wasn't on. I don't think I've seen a wide receiver that open, and he caught one. I don't think I have. The Dax had the running touch, the 4th and 1 on the goal line. You expect them to run it with Zeke, and they bid on it, and Dak just kind of waltzes in on it. Tampa Bay. It almost looked like Tampa Bay didn't study this team for a while. Like I don't know. They were like, "Oh, Tom's got it." Tom did not have it. My washer is going absolutely bananas. I don't know if any of you can hear that, but every time I talk, I feel like I can hear it. Yeah. So good win for Dallas. They first road win in like 30 years in the playoffs. Their first playoff win in like 6 years. Dak broke his interception streak. And the sad part is, and I said this in a bunch of places, and I'll say it again here for all of you to see, if they aren't close to this performance on both sides of the ball against San Francisco, ain't got a chance. Ain't got a chance. Dak cannot throw interceptions. Dak can't turn the ball over just like he did. I mean, this game was over in the third quarter because of that. We said, old Uncle Mo is a fickle beast. And after halftime, I said, okay, it's 18. I think it's 18-0 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, like this is where if Tom comes out, Buccaneers had possession after half. They come out and they run down the field and they score something. Mo is going to jump back. Never worked. Never did. I think the Bucs had like 7 3-and-outs in this game. It was bad. It was bad. Everything that could go wrong. They almost had a fumble, another turnover. Tom Brady threw his first interception in the red zone in 420 pass attempts dating back to 2019. Granted, I think that was just a bad attempt to throw the ball away. I don't think that was. There's one of two things. Either that was a miscommunication with whoever was in the back of the end zone. They were supposed to go to the middle and they went to the post, or they went to the pylon. I don't know. Jaron Curse was paying attention, and if you're going to throw that ball away, throw it away. Like, don't half-ass it. And he half-assed it, and he throws an interception. Also, that was about 77 seconds after the ESPN announcers were like, "Here's an interception in the red zone since 2019. And I'm immediately thinking to myself, I'm like, you just jinxed him. This is going to
Yeah.
happen. If not now, like this game. And it was now. So good win for the Cowboys. Again, tough test. 3 NFC East teams have made it to the divisional round, which we said it was the NFC beast really all year. Winning percentage was over 65% between that division. Good for them. Now, the only problem is I think Dallas is the toughest test out of the 3 NFC East teams, because the other 2 can be a close game. This one, if Dallas isn't in the top 10th percentile of their playing ability, this could be tough. But we'll talk about that momentarily. Real quick to go over the stats. I think I mentioned Dax. If I didn't, I'll do it again. 25 for 33, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns. Tony Pollard had 77 yards on the ground. Oh boy. I'm listening to things. I don't want to listen to things. Go away. Dalton Schultz, 7 catches, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Talk about not guarding someone. CeeDee Lamb, 4 catches, 68 yards and a touchdown. Michael Gallup, 5 catches, 46 yards and a touchdown. Jake Ferguson had 1 catch for 34 yards. Okay. This is supposed to be the Buccaneers' run defense. It's supposed to be like 9th best. They allowed 77 yards to Pollard on 15 carries, a 5.1 average. Way to go. Way to go. Rockstar. Tom Brady, 35 for 66. I didn't realize how many passing attempts he had. 35 for 66, 351 yards, 2 touchdowns and the interception. Rashad White had 7 carries for 41 yards. I ain't going to do it. Chris Godwin, 10 catches, 85 yards. Julio Jones, 7 for 74 with a touchdown. Mike Evans, 6 catches on 11 targets for 74 yards. Cade Otton, 4 for 58. Didn't really matter much. There's nothing that they could do, even if they got close. It wasn't until garbage time that they started scoring. Like really garbage time. Like their first touchdown. Was that one? That was the one to Julio Jones, which was a beautifully placed ball. And then they couldn't convert on the 2-point conversion. And then the other touchdown to Cameron Brate. Sure, why not? That was fully garbage time where Dallas was just like, let's make them use some clock so we can go home. In all reality, Dallas keeps that defense out there. The end score of this is 31-6, and I'm confident in that. But it doesn't matter. A win is a win. So, did you watch any of this game? You have anything you want to add before we go on to the preview?
Not a heck of a lot. I mean, I saw some stuff like Mike Evans and Tom Brady just were not, other than one game, they were just not on the same page all season, which is really unfortunate. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one that Tom was trying to hit and he went the wrong way or whatever, in the interception. But Evans had a ball that was a little, like it was questionably out of reach. It was catchable. He got his hands on it and bobbled it. It was honestly, they had the same play every time, down the right side. Evans goes long.
Yep.
And he could have caught it and it probably would have been a touchdown. But anyways, being, Evans just not his year, and unfortunately that really affected them in this game.
So they didn't match up Trayvon Diggs with Mike Evans. They matched up Trayvon Diggs on the left side of the field. The other cornerback slot has been it was Xavier Rhodes for most of this game, or a good chunk of this game. There's another cornerback who I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I probably should look it up because I have it open right here. Hold on. Mukuamu. That's his name. Israel Mukuamu. Have you heard of him? Me neither. Did a fantastic job at times, pretty like on Chris Godwin, who's obviously more of their slot. Either way, Mike Evans was the person to target, or whoever was on that right side, because he was going to burn, and he did burn, and I believe it was that play, he burned Xavier Rhodes. And if he lays out, he could catch that.
He gets his hands on it, but yeah.
Right.
It's like, it's questionable. It's like right on the line.
He could have got it. It's Mike Evans.
Yeah.
That's where they should have focused. And it wasn't until the touchdown to Julio Jones where they started to figure out that Dallas had this, if you're going to play this one safety deep, you have to make them choose. and they made him choose on the Julio jump, and Julio had burned, I think it was Trayvon Diggs, but he burned somebody and was not wide open, but open enough to catch a ball. And I'm like, there you go. That's what you should. The announcers were pointing it out like the second quarter. It took him a full like quarter later. And I was like, you're right. Like, make him chuck it deep. Didn't work out great. So
Yeah.
Bucks are 43 million over the salary cap. What do you do? Tune in 3 weeks when we do our NFC focus show. We'll talk about how sad it's going to be to watch that team have to let people go. Whatever is in this washer, it sounds like it's a cinder block. I'm just saying. I don't know if you guys can hear this on the video at all, and I won't know because I can't listen or watch this whole video over again. But man, it sounds like there is like someone put all of the car keys from a party, where they had the bowl of car keys, where you can't, you're like, yeah, no one's driving, put them on the bowl. Someone took that whole bowl and the keys and just threw it in the washer. So it's nothing. It's not like there's anything wrong with it. It's just the washer's like off balance or something weird. Maybe it's the dryer. It doesn't matter. So that's all of our wild card review. Next, we're gonna go into the divisional round preview. So we've kind of hinted at all these matchups already. Giants and Eagles will be Saturday night. Eagles currently 7.5-point favorites. That was a 48-point over under, right? I think that's what you said. Which team has the momentum? Old Uncle Mo, let's have a chat. I say Giants. Big win against Vikings. Again, they have all their defensive line healthy. They can play some stop-up ball. The Eagles have run for 909 yards in the last 6 games versus the Giants. So if I'm the Giants, I know it's coming. Does that mean you're going to have a better result by making Jalen Hurts throw? No. But if you're going to cause a quarter of them reformulating a game plan. This game's in Philly. I want to go with Philly because of how the team is structured. This is the Eagles' really only chance to do this. There are 4 impending free agents from their defensive line that are crucial. Hassan Reddick is a free agent. I'm going to pull it up on my phone right now because to me, it's the most interesting thing that. No, go away. Why do all these websites ask for cookies? Can we have a quick chat about that? Disgusting. Javon Hargrave is a free agent this year. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, James Bradbury, and Brandon Graham are all impending free agents. I guess it's not Hassan Reddick. I lied.
Well, there's also Fletcher Cox and Robert Quinn.
Yeah. If I am the Eagles, I know you have some good draft picks. You have 2, I believe, in the first round. This is still my only chance because this defense takes a hit without any 3 of those, especially that secondary. The Giants are moving. Daniel Jones is doing. I mean, he did his own little mini Jalen Hurts impression this past week. 300 yards, 75 on the ground. Yeah.
Sorry, my headset cut out. Did you ask me something?
No, I did not. It just
Okay.
I'm trying to gauge if my internet cuts out. That's what I stopped and made an awkward pause. I like the Eagles here, but I think it's going to be a closer game than 7.5.
Yeah, that is a pretty good size spread, and what we've seen from the Giants would suggest that it's going to be closer than that. I mean, the Eagles are that good of a team that they should win by that much, but it's playoffs. I don't see that happening.
Right. I agree. Jaguars and Chiefs is the other Saturday game. Yes.
Yes.
That is the afternoon Saturday game. Chiefs 8.5-point favorites at home. I don't think we need to go into this one crazy. Jaguars cannot stumble for much of this game at all. And again, I think their defense getting to Patrick Mahomes will be the key. If you want to keep the Chiefs below 26, 28 points, that's where it starts. And if you don't, you are going to have a hard time beating this Chiefs team. Jerick McKinnon, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Everything else will fall into line if you can handle 2.5 of those three.
Right.
I know 2.5 is not a number that you would run into, but you get my gist. Most of those three for most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Um,
what I was gonna say is Kelsey and Mahomes. If you can lock those guys up, then you're well on your way.
Yeah, and then it just comes down to how their defense, which their defense is still, it was the sixth best rush defense in the league. And over the last 8 weeks of the season, they were actually 15th versus wide receivers and 8th versus opposing quarterbacks. Completely different story the first 8 weeks, but we'll talk about that later. It all depends on how you handle your offense around how your defense. If you're playing catch up, you're not going to win. That's the whole key here. I'm probably going to hastily like the counter for this game in a betting sense from DFS is probably Travis Etienne because I don't think that he would be. I think a lot of folks would think the Chiefs would lead, and he would not have a lot to do with the running. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that one. For Sunday, first game, Bengals at Bills. Buffalo 5-point favorites at home. This Sunday has the most interesting games, I think. These are remember 2 weeks ago when these two teams faced off for half a quarter and then DeMar Hamlin had his incident? Well, now we get to the Bengals will play in Buffalo this time. And I I don't know. We got to go back to this. This was our host v host for week 17. We didn't get a chance to go over it. Man, but I got nothing. I can't
Yeah.
even.
I mean, I'm leaning towards the Bengals, and I don't want to say, I don't know. I guess it's just a gut because we've seen what Joe can do with Chase and Higgins,
Yeah,
and the Bills beyond Stephon Diggs, like Knox has been pretty solid lately. He's a very good tight end that's come into his own, but Gabe Davis is the number 2 and he's more of a 50-50 guy.
yeah. There's offensively this game also with a 48-point over under. The Jaguars Chiefs was 52 over under. Bengals Bills at 48. I think this game goes over. I think both of these teams, both their defenses haven't been killer the last. I mean, the Bengals, they gave up 17 points to the Ravens without Lamar Jackson. The Bills just gave up 31 to Skylar Thompson, granted, influenced by some turnovers, but you can't assume those aren't going to be impervious to this team either. So
Yeah. And actually
there's going to be some fireworks.
Yeah. And that's another thing is Allen has actually been having turnovers to end the season more so than he did. I mean, yeah, it's not lining up well for the Bills. I mean, the bright spot is James Cook is really starting to come on.
Yeah, and it's good that they're using him now. But like I said, go for the fireworks. Like,
So you're gonna tell me that you don't have no black cats, no Roman candles, or screaming memes?
yeah, this game's probably gonna have that.
You don't got no lady fingers, buzz buttles, snicker bombs, church burners, finger blasters, gut busters, zippity doo-dahs, or crap flappers?
Gotta have
Fireworks.
the crap flappers.
Gotta have the crap flappers. Last game, Sunday night game. Ooh boy, Dallas at San Francisco. San Francisco now 3.5-point favorites. Narrow lead for being at home. The first thing I noticed is that this is a home game for San Francisco, and they are narrowly having the home field advantage. And I could see this going to 2.5 or 3 by the time we get there. Could also see it going to 5. All depends. Dallas needs a repeat. San Francisco needs Brock Purdy to not have this be the week. I think the next 2 weeks for him are crucial.
Yeah.
No matter who comes out of that Eagles Giants game. These also, as far as teams in the NFC, they are 4th, 6th, 8th, and 3rd in defensive rankings. 4th, 6th, 8th, and 1st, San Francisco. So it's all defense as far as these 4 teams. So Brock Purdy is, as far as these 3 teams or 4 teams go, Brock Purdy is still the underdog for continuous He hasn't proved the offense. Dallas has put up the most points since week 7. We've seen Jalen Hurts do just about any and everything on the side of the field. The Giants now are getting Daniel Jones to prove they have some muscle. They've scored 31 points in 3 of their last 5 weeks after not scoring 30 or more in what, 4 years? 3 years? Tell me I'm wrong. The one thing we have yet to prove is Brock Purdy doing it against these teams. He hasn't played any of them. In my argument, he hasn't played a tough division. What's the toughest opponent he's had to take on? The Raiders? Shaky. Does that mean he can't do it? No. Dallas's defense has been holy Oreos. Just really, really, it has been. There's been times where they haven't answered the call. And let's just call that one down the middle. Man, I want to have some faith in Dallas, but I can't justify calling Tampa Bay over Dallas and not sitting here and calling San Francisco over Dallas. Like, I just can't. It doesn't make me feel warm. It doesn't make me feel good. I'm a Cowboys fan, and in all righteousness, if I'm sitting here and saying Tampa Bay could have beat Dallas and then they get the floor wiped with them, I can't come in here and go, that's going to happen to San Francisco. I don't know about that.
It's the pattern.
Yeah,
4
well,
straight.
this would be game 2. Yeah, I'll take San Francisco. I feel like it could be another close one. So
Yeah, I mean, both teams kind of firing on all cylinders. We'll see if Dallas can keep it up, but San Francisco just does not seem to have a weak spot right now.
yeah, that's what makes it so. And Dallas just looked like they didn't against Tampa Bay.
Right.
So, yeah, also, the 49ers faced Tampa Bay earlier this year and had a similar result to what Dallas just did. I believe the final score of that game was like 38-14, which means that their kicker didn't miss field goal or didn't miss points after. So, again, I predict more fireworks. Dallas is hungry. So I'm giving it that one.
You're gonna stand there and tell me you don't have no whistling bungholes, no spleen splitters, whisker biscuits, honky lighters, Husker do's, Husker don'ts, cherry bombs, nipsy daisers, with or without the scooter stick, or one single whistling kitty chaser?
Do not forget the scooter stick. That's going to do it for part 2. We're going to take a little quick water break. When we come back, our week 2 host parlays. We'll go over the results, much to Taylor's dismay. And then we will have the Dynasty all rookie team, which I will explain when we get back. Taylor, do that thing without so much.
We'll see y'all on the flip.
It's a beautiful day here in the Fantasy Pad / Fantasy Dojo.
Touchdown.
Always touchdowns. Spin the wheel, get some touchdowns. That's what happens.
Was that Romo?
I don't know who it is. I don't remember where I heard it from, but I stole it from them because I can do that. And if I can't, they haven't sent me a letter or a cease and desist. So we're going to continue. We're going to jump right into part 3 with a week 2 of our host v host parlays. I really shouldn't label it week 2. I should put divisional round host v host parlays, but it's week 2 of the postseason. We're only doing the parlays for the postseason because it's kind of hard to do the normal,
Fantasy Flyer, yeah.
Yeah, fantasy flyer. You can't really fantasy fly with a lot of this. DFS is kind of the way we go, which is fine. We can still give you some DFS props if you want. I suppose I'll read my parlays first. I won last week by a mile.
Did you say 2 of yours hit?
2 of my 3.
Okay.
I don't remember what the last one. I just had it up and then like a dum-dum, I closed. Oh, hey, guess what? It's still right here. I lied. Let me scroll down. Kittle anytime touchdown. That didn't happen. Waddle was under 70. The Seahawks didn't cover either. So those 2 things ruined that one. Dallas and Tampa Bay also went over 40.5, which I didn't think was going to hit, but it doesn't matter because I lost that parlay. I did get Buffalo winning, Cincinnati winning both on the money line. CeeDee Lamb over 50 yards, Travis Etienne over 40 rush yards, and Eckler anytime touchdown. That is for 5 legs, 50 points. I also got CMC over 70 total yards, Justin Herbert over 250 passing, and Walker over 50 rush yards. That's 3 more legs, total of 80 points. I am at 298. You're at 189 host v host points.
I was close.
It's
had
a
that-
long way to the
Yeah.
top if you wanna rock and roll.
We don't have to go over all the legs, but that monster I had, if anybody wants to go back and listen, I missed out on one piece by like 3 yards.
2 yards, 3 yards, yeah.
Yeah.
Kittle over 40 yards. He had 37. And other than that, you would have had, I think it was a 7 leg, which would have basically erased all of my gains. So, however, it is a new week, and Taylor went really smart with this one based on. We'll wait till you read yours because you have the security here that I don't have, which I think is fair. I'm up by enough. I shouldn't be allowed to do that because I'm up. My first leg. Brandon Ayuk, anytime touchdown. Cowboys 29th in fantasy points given up to wide receivers. They've given up 1.2 touchdowns per game, which is second only in the league to the Titans for touchdowns given up to wide receivers this year. Next leg, Evan Ingram under his yards prop currently is 48.5. That is where we will set up for our purposes. It shifts, but we're going 48.5. Next leg, Jerick McKinnon under receiving yards prop. He has 34.5. Again, we'll stay right there. And the next one, Philadelphia and the Giants under 48.5 as their total points. That's a gamble, a true gamble, because both of these teams can put up 30 apiece. So that is a 4-legger. Next leg, my second parlay, anytime touchdown parlays, 4 legs, Isaiah Pacheco, Tony Pollard, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel. Very simple. I have the 4 money line winners: Philadelphia, San Francisco, Kansas City, and Cincinnati. So another 4-legger. And then my last one, Travis Kelce over 50 receiving yards. I think it's usually a slam dunk. I think he did that in 14 of 17 games this year. Darius Slayton over his yards prop, which is currently at 46.5. Daniel Jones with 25 or more rushing yards. Jalen Hurts with 250 or more passing yards, and then Deebo over his yards prop at 56.5. Currently is what it is. That is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leg parlay. So those are my 4 parlays. Honestly, a couple gambles there. These are not a set of parlays that I feel, other than the money line one. I don't feel really good about any of the 3 of these. So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
So, Taylor, time for your parlays. Again, each one of these legs worth 10 points. You get the whole parlay, you get 10 points per leg. If you miss any leg of the parlay, you out on that parlay, just like any other betting site.
Yeah. So I also have the same money line. I just wrote it in a different order, not realizing that Derek also had Kansas City, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and San Francisco winning. And as Derek alluded to, I have he gave me a gimme here.
He should be able to get it. Honestly, you got to, they say you got to do everything you can to win. This is a good example of it because it's smart.
Yeah, so Philadelphia to cover a plus 7.5 spread, San Francisco to cover a 10.5 spread, Kansas City to cover a 17.5 spread, and Cincinnati with covering a 12.5 spread. And these are all positive. So these are all favored teams, in our opinion, to cover.
No, that's not your opinion. Literally, the sports books have all 4 of those teams with the lead. You have to give points to the other team. So it's not even just us. Everybody says that, like Philadelphia, that's a 14-point swing from what the sports books are predicting. San Francisco, it is a 14-point swing. Kansas City is like a 26-point swing.
Well, and so even the Bengals beating the Bills.
That is the Bills are favored by 5.
Well,
so
actually,
that's a 17.5.
right. Yeah, so they don't necessarily have to win, but we have the money line thinking ourselves that they will win anyways. So that's sort of a gimme there.
Well, yeah, because if that's a gimme because if one of those, like you could if your money line parlay for Kansas City, Philly, Cincinnati, and San Francisco are right, just like mine would be, the difference is you will hit both. I'll only
Right.
hit one. If one of those teams loses, mine is out, your first one is out, but your second one is in.
Yeah, they
So
can still
it's
cover
really
that.
it's smart. It's just
So thank you for that, Derek. My other parlays here are one, two, I think they're five. Yeah, five leggers. So as I said last time, try not to make monster ones unless you want to throw in a low dollar amount and get a huge payout. But that's what I went for the fences last week and it narrowly missed. So I'm gonna break them up a little bit here. I have Hertz with 40 plus rushing yards. His line is 50.5. I have Debo with 50 plus receiving yards. His line is 56.5. Higgins with 60 plus receiving yards. His line is 66.5. That aspect I'm a little wary about, but as I said before, they need to get Higgins more involved. It can't be all Chase. I have Knox with 30 plus receiving yards. His line is 35.5, and I have Kelsey with an anytime touchdown. So that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 leg. And then my last parlay is CMC 60 plus rushing yards. His line is 64.5. Debo anytime touchdown. CeeDee Lamb 70 plus receiving yards. His line is apparently 805. It's 80.5. Goddard with 40 plus receiving yards. His line is 49.5. And Evan Engram with an anytime touchdown. That is also a 5-legger.
I like both of those, by the way. I know you're playing safe on the yards prop. The one
Yes.
shaky one out of all those, like you mentioned, was Higgins. I think Knox is pretty safe in my opinion. CMC and his rush yards probably pretty safe. Even at 64.5, I feel like that's a little low.
Yeah.
Goddard at 40 actually is a little for me.
That one, yeah.
Other than that, I really like all those. A couple long shots that we'll point out before we go into the Dynasty All Rookie team. If you're going to take some of these bigger payouts, couple things to know. Wide receivers against both San Francisco and Dallas, they score a lot. They are 27th and 29th versus wide receivers as far as scoring goes in terms of fantasy points. Now, fantasy points pretty much a direct correlation to yardage and receptions, so keep that in mind. Dallas allowing more touchdowns. Debo touchdown, fine. Ayuk touchdown, fine. Wouldn't go much beyond that. Christian McCaffrey, I'm not afraid to go over. I mean, his receiving prop is 38.5. His rush prop, like you said, they're 64.5 as it sits at this moment. I'm not afraid to take the over on both of those. I think he's a little bit of a trick for San Francisco against Dallas. And he's a good running back. Another couple to throw out. The Giants are playing the Eagles. There has been one constant between both games that happened this year between the Giants and Eagles. Do you know what that constant is, Taylor?
Boston Scott.
You are 100% correct. He scored a touchdown in both games. He has 18 career touchdowns, 10 of them against the Giants. I will take it again. He is currently plus 390 on the touchdown, anytime touchdown. I don't know what it is. I'm assuming, this could third time's the charm. They could stop him here. Sure. I don't know. But I'll take 390 if I'm putting in any kind. Kelsey is a good touchdown. Evan Engram is a solid touchdown. They've both been heavy. Marvin Jones is not a horrible stretch. I don't hate that one. I'm not as warm as, say, any of the other names we mentioned for touchdowns for that. Another one, Tyler Boyd. I think the Bills know who they have to guard, and the one name that isn't is Tyler Boyd. Real quick, if I check the anytime stats for what his current betting is. Oh, of course, it's reloading as we speak. Oh, here it is. Thanks, you loaded. He's plus 340. So a plus 340 and a plus 390 for Boston Scott and Tyler Boyd. If that hits, you bet $1, you'll probably win 9, roughly 8, 9, somewhere in that ballpark. We just saw Cole Beasley catch one, another bit of a dart throw. Mix them up. That's what I say. There's a good, if you have one leg that's out there and you're very trusting in that it hits and you keep putting in bets like we have built here, Hurts over 40 yards, Debo 50 yards or more, CMC 60 or more rush yards, or 50 or more rush yards, or 40 or more. Positive is positive. That's the one thing. And know when you're out of your realm as far as the bet goes.
Yeah.
So anytime touchdowns are good, but like look at my 4-leg anytime bet: Pacheco, Pollard, Diggs, Debo. I didn't go with Tyler Boyd. I didn't go with Boston Scott. I went with realistic expectations. I set that. And if I put this into FanDuel, you're probably going to be looking at about 1,000, maybe plus 1,000, roughly, for all 4 to hit. Not monster. You need all 4 of them. There's several legs, but it makes it plausible that it could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and another thing to think about is what your expectations are. So you expect San Francisco to throw the ball a lot or whatever. Come up with that game plan and create bets around that. And then let's say you expect Dallas to win. Come up with that game plan. Put in props around that. Don't put these in the same parlay, because both things can't always happen. I mean, yeah, it can, but probability wise, if you think San Francisco's going to do X, meaning Dallas might not meet expectations, then don't put those in the same bet, and vice versa. If you think Dallas is going to, for some reason demolish San Francisco and go ham on yardage in the air, then make that a separate same game parlays. Honestly, if you write these scripts in your head, those are solid.
Or write them down on paper.
Right.
Or write them down on paper. And make sure you put in, and like you're saying, you said you build one and you go the other way. Be contrarian. I just sent Taylor, before we started recording part 3, I just sent him and this is not a lie, 3 bets on tonight's NBA slate. Okay. Well, actually, it was 1 bet that I ended up winning, but I built 3 for the Knicks game that started tonight at 7:40. At 7:34, I built 3 lineups that were all a little contrarian, or a lot contrarian to the others. And I won a plus 10,000 odd bet on one of those. It was like a 9-leg parlay. It was good odds, but it's because I was contrarian. It wasn't because I really had time to think about it or knew what I was doing. It's because I knew, okay, well, I have over, under here. Let's go under, over. And then under, over, under. So those were the 3. So there's a couple combinations in there. I just happen to hit gold. It is what it is. But be contrarian to yourself. So don't rely on just one bet for the games. And if it hits, that's fine. But if you're going to be responsible with it too, which is the other key to this, you don't go betting your house, but be responsible. The bet that I won tonight was 45 cents. I won $48 off it.
That's a meal.
You don't need to bet $1 million. You really don't. You don't. It's the truth of the matter. But be smart about it. So if you're building some parlays like that, those are our head host v host head-to-head parlays. Words are still difficult. Eventually I'll go back to school. But that brings us to the final part, and I think it's a really exciting part. I like this. I got this idea from Tritter. Nope, no, I did not. That's not. Let's try that. Oh, also,
is that the new name now that Elon took over?
Shut up. I got this idea from Twitter, where all geniuses get their influence. Me and Taylor are going to go back and forth, filling in the rookie offense and 2 defensive players and 2 head coaches until this lineup is full. I will post this on the video, so you'll probably see it somewhere like here, maybe there, one of the sides. I'll do it somewhere. Look around this video, somewhere in this vicinity. It'll happen. Also, just a side note. Yeah, right. Pay attention to what you're doing. Also, real quick note that those 4 legs for my parlay, it just finally loaded. 25 plus 25.95. So if I bet $1, I'd win 25.96. And I'm going to do that right now for my 4 anytime touchdowns. So it's Pacheco, Pollard, Diggs, and Debo.
Nice.
We'll see if I. So now if I'm going to win this, I'm going to have some money coming too. It's actually good. Anyway, back to the Dynasty all-rookie team. 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 defensive players, 2 head coaches. You can pick in any order that you want. You want to go first, Taylor? You want me to go first? We want.
I'll go second.
Okay. All right. In that case, the
It was
leader
one
and
of the
host.
options.
It was host v host. Leader in points will go first. That's how we'll decide that then. Rub that in a little bit more, huh?
All right, I take it back. Oldest goes first.
Okay, there we go. Grandpa over here. Let me see here. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of good picks for both of these. I'm going to start off with a quarterback, and it's somebody who we need to pay attention to. We're still paying attention to him this year. At this point in the year, actually, it is Brock Purdy. I don't think it's a surprise that he is on this list. He did not play a full season. Neither did Kenny Pickett, who is probably, I would say, safe for the other quarterback spot on this list. I don't think there's going to be much of a surprise. We'll focus on
Bailey
him
Zappi.
more. Yeah,
I
his
kid,
3
I kid.
games. Yeah, his 3 games. He was really good.
He was.
But yes, Brock Purdy will be number 1 on this team. I'm going to type him in right now. I mean, what is there? He hasn't lost a game yet since he started. The game that he came in before that, he didn't start. He only played 3/4 of it or more, and they still won. Effective with the pass. He's calm in the pocket. Now he's facing pressure from the crowd, from the situation being the postseason and some of the better opposing teams. He's doing really well. From a rookie point of view, obviously there is a big talk in San Francisco of where do you go at the quarterback position. I think this is one of their worst nightmares is they really have 3 options at quarterback. Do you roll with Trey Lance? Do you ride with Brock Purdy? A lot of things to decide over the offseason. The one thing that you know is that Brock Purdy is a trustworthy option at the quarterback spot. And he is the first on our Dynasty all-rookie team.
Nice. I did not clarify. Are we going down in position? Okay, anywhere we want.
Anywhere you want.
Okay. Well, in that case,
there should be like 4 easy ones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm between 2 players on the same team here. I'm gonna go Breece Hall. I mean, this guy was lighting up the fantasy world after like week 2. Yeah, I mean, even week 1, he had a reasonable amount of points especially for a rookie. But yeah, after week 2, it was all systems go for him. So yeah, I'm gonna go with good old Breece Hall.
Okay, he was the Jets' leading rusher. We know that.
Yeah,
he probably after watching the rest of this team, the rest of the year at the running back position, I think he's going to be a lock next year. I don't think that, hopefully he stays healthy again. The torn ACL is not good, but he should be back in for training camp and OTAs and stuff like that. And there's no reason to believe that this would change. I think he is a lock for that RB position. Their big worry right now is quarterback with Zach Wilson or not Zach Wilson, or what do you do there?
Yeah, he was on pace for like 1,100 yards.
And that's a really good rookie season. I think he was on pace for more than that. He had
probably, go ahead.
In 6 weeks, he had 600 and some yards.
Oh, I only have his total at 463. Maybe I'm not looking.
Maybe that was total yards I was looking at.
Okay.
That could be plausible.
Yeah, and I mean, week 7 is when he got hurt, so I didn't necessarily take into account that was only a partial game.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, maybe you're right. Receiving. Yeah, you're right. You're in the 4. I thought he had like 600 yards in like 6 weeks. Nope. All right. Nope. Don't know where I got my stats from, but you are correct. It's 400 and whatever yards you said. So that means that it's back to me. I'm going to go with his teammate. I don't think it's a surprise either. Our first wide receiver on the board will be Garrett Wilson. I mean, this man became a target hog near the end of the year. There is no reason to doubt that he should be the wide receiver 1 on this team going next year. He is a monster. He's a stud. 1,103 yards this year. Only had 4 touchdowns, but again, that's more a quarterback issue than anything else, in my opinion. 147 targets, average 13.3. Only fumbled it twice. I don't see that many drops. I can't see exactly how many it was, but I absolutely hate these ads, bro. Every time you open up ESPN, it wants to spit out a dumb ad at you. Did you hear that?
I did not.
Good. All right. Good for ESPN. At least it only shoves it in my ears, and all I gotta do is keep talking through it. But anyway, Garrett Wilson, great, great option. He was the 10th pick last year. And there was some debate between Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave or John Dotson, and I think they chose right. Uh, I hope their quarterback situation gets fixed so that he can continue to bloom because he should. Garrett Wilson, first wide receiver on our all rookie team. Your turn.
Yeah, love that pick. To your point, bit of an up and down season, but when he was on, and it was really just quarterback play that was making that happen. So if he gets a good quarterback, he's going to be incredible. I will also go, and that one, like I said, two players from the same team. That was the guy I was thinking of. I will go Chris Olave. I mean, you literally just said his name. Highly, looked at in terms of talent. Came out strong. Unfortunately, had some kind of injuries at the end of the season, and then also the team just really tapered off. But with good God, who did they have as quarterback besides Winston?
It's a great question. Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton, thank you. With Andy Dalton, who, I mean, he had some okay games, but just not consistent. And like I said, they really tapered off. He was pretty solid. I think, did he have the most points, fantasy points for rookie wide receiver? No, he did not. He was 13 behind Garrett Wilson. Granted, I think
not bad.
average, he was ahead of Wilson because he did miss a couple games, but still, bright future for this young man.
Yeah, I can't argue with the pick. Can't argue with it at all. I'm gonna go back to the running back position again. Don't think it's gonna be a surprise to see this name here, Kenneth Walker. Is there anything else we need to say? I mean, Rashad Penny was in there, and then he got hurt for like one game, and we were like, oh, here it goes, and there it went. Kenneth Walker started to, if given, I mean, most of his bad games were matchup driven. They were or game script driven. He was not in the position to have a bad game on a regular basis. He had 1,050 rush yards on 228 attempts, 9 touchdowns, which was tied for 10th in the league. I mean, he had 133 yards versus the Jets on January 1st, 114 versus the Rams on January 8th. That's how he closed out his season. One thing that we do want to see a little more of is his receiving. We do want to see that kind of more in the playbook, something that they could possibly improve on in Seattle. But for a rookie to come in there and have 4.6 as a rush yard average, it's only average yards per rush. He was the second round 41st pick last year. Lock and load him again this year. Dynasty value through the roof. I love Kenneth Walker. He is our rookie RB2. Your turn.
Yeah, love that pick. Not, like you said, not too much more you can say about him. He had a great rookie season. I mean, in terms of running backs, there's really only one. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a couple of guys, especially ones that finish strong. So I won't go there yet. I'm gonna go back to wide receiver with Christian Watson. He had a rough start, but once this man started going, he really became I would say the number one on the team. I think a lot of people were concerned, especially Green Bay Packer fans, that they took him where they did, but I think he proved that it was worth it in the end. I mean, since week 10, he was at least, this is PPR, he was 32.7, 21.2, 21, 24.5. After the bye week, it goes back down, but he had a very strong stretch there. And then, unfortunately, the team kind of balanced out, if you will. They weren't just, throwing him the ball. I think more people were healthy and whatnot, but I think he's shown that he could be a very good option out there.
Yeah, lock and load with it. Christian Watson had a stretch of 8 touchdowns in 4 weeks at one point, 7 catching, 1 rushing for those 8. Solid. I don't really know what else to say. I'm gonna fill in our quarterback position since you have left it. The only one I think he started off on the bench to start the year and didn't stay there long. Kenny Pickett is he probably would be number 1 on this list if Purdy hadn't come out of nowhere and won 6 in a row. But Pickett started off on the bench. He missed a couple games, had a concussion, was out. Trubisky did plenty fine in his interim. But all in all, it was Kenny Pickett who got this team back over 500. Just really good play. I mean, he's learning the offense still. He's still learning reads and things like that. But it is just no reason to believe that he can't keep doing that going into next year. There's just no reason to believe that he can't keep doing anything that this offense needs him to do. 2,400 yards, had 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. His average QBR wasn't great at 51.6, but just learning to control the game, becoming that game manager, then becoming average, then becoming great. It's the road that many quarterbacks have to take. Kenny Pickett is my QB2, our QB2 for the all rookie draft.
Yeah, totally makes sense. I'm going to go back to RB here. I mean, tight ends take a while to come on, so it's hard to really go tight end yet. And there, honestly, it's kind of tough pickings there. But I'm gonna go, and I might be a little biased since he was on my team. And I mean, it was very much opportunity based for this young man. But I'm gonna go Dameon Pierce, Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson, other good names. Algier really finished strong. He had a couple good weeks in the middle there, but if Cordell Patterson is no longer with the team, he could be pretty solid. Not sure there's Pacheco, there's Rashad White, but I think those other guys really stood out a bit more to me. So I'm gonna go Dameon Pierce. He was on a bad team and did some great running. Obviously not a pass catching running back, so that's unfortunate that he can't be that 3-down bell cow, but he did great just rushing wise.
I agree, and that's the discussion for me. There is exactly what you think it is. Algier, Pierce, that's it. So got about 4.5 minutes left. So real quick, we'll go through the tight end spot for me. Number 1, K. Dotton, 4th round pick, came into Tampa Bay, took the job from Cameron Brate in his first year. Nothing else you can really say. I hope his value stays there next year because we don't know what the quarterback situation is, but he's the first tight end on our all rookie team.
That was who I was looking at. And then I'm gonna go Dulcich. There's a couple other names, Bellinger, maybe Jelani Woods, Isaiah Likely. If Andrews wasn't there, he was great. And then kind of the late surprise, Chigozima Okonkwo.
Yep.
Very athletically gifted. So he could come on pretty big next season, but I'm gonna go with the man, Dulcich.
That is the wide receiver spot. Don't take that there. However, last wide receiver. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna go defense. I'm gonna go Sauce Gardner as the defense. I don't think this is a surprise either. He, in his rookie year, locked down some of the best wide receivers in the league. At one point, he had allowed only 31 yards through like 5 games to who he was covering, and when he was on man coverage, he's the all out for the Jets. I love the fact that they have 3 rookies on this list. I think it's the truth of the matter. They just need to get the quarterback, and that could be a very, very important piece to this team winning 10 or 11 games, even in that stacked AFC East.
Nice. So, oof. I know we don't have much time, so I'll make it quick. I'm gonna go with my boy Marcus Jones. I know that's a little out of left field, but this man
How are
played
you
at
gonna?
all.
Okay, hold on. We gotta have a chat here. Aiden Hutchinson.
Yes, and that's the other name I was gonna say. And honestly, if you want to overthrow me on this, that's perfectly fine. I'm throwing in a little New
You
England
have
bias
to
here.
you have to take Aiden Hutchinson here. I'm
But this
sorry.
man, special teams, playing the ball, playing defensively, catching the ball, like he was playing all sides of the ball and
Nah,
excelling.
nah.
All right. All right. I
You
made my
can chat him
piece.
up. You can chat him up, but I disagree.
I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with you on Aiden Hutchinson. He's a great player, obviously highly drafted and had a great rookie season. So
Marcus Jones
you
had
don't
two
have to
bright
convince me
spots.
heavily. Yeah, I mean,
Wait till next year when he's not a rookie. We won't put him on the all rookie team. Last wide receiver, which is the last spot that is a player spot. Drake London, wide receiver one all year. I mean, he was there, had some bright spots, played all the games. He's learned the rules. His quarterback is another problem. Just like Chris Olave, ceiling is much higher than what you saw. Just give him time. I don't think we're gonna each take a turn on a head coach. I think
that's
we're
fine.
both going to. It's pretty straightforward for us for these two rookie head coaches, Brian Daboll and Kevin O'Connell. Both their teams made the playoffs. Kevin O'Connell with more to work with than Brian Daboll, so Daboll would be first. Daboll has made gold out of trash. That Giants team is moving so much better than what it was last year. The coaching makes a difference. Daniel Jones is being used so much better. That team looks so much better on both sides of the ball. You go. Kevin O'Connell, one thing obviously they have to work on as a team is fixing that point differential. Defense, and defense. So that's the only thing I could say there. Your offense has all the pieces. You have Hawkinson, you have Jefferson, you have Thielen, you have Dalvin Cook, you have Alexander Madison, you have Kirk Cousins. It's defense. So all in all, our Dynasty rookie team will be posted somewhere around here. I don't know how I want to edit the video. You can see it. Any other final notes for this episode 37, Taylor?
That's the exact wide receiver I was going to take as well. Other names: Pickens and Jahan Dotson.
Yep. Close one for Dotson too. It's either Dotson
Yeah.
or London for me. That's gonna do it. Oh,
Nope, I was going to say that's it.
oh, okay. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for episode 37. We will see you next week for episode 38. On behalf of Taylor, on behalf of Derek, here's some Bob Barker. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the playoffs.
Bob Barker reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.